The New York Rangers have been forced into an impossible decision as an insider has revealed a major update on one player in particular in his future with the New York Rangers. And not only that, we have multiple updates on the Rangers organization as they've made some more moves this offseason. We're going to break down exactly what those moves are and how this affects the team heading into not just next season, but the future for this entire organization on this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 77% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, this channel is built for blue shirt fandom. And this is the place to be for all your daily New York Rangers content. But Brett, let's get right into it. We have a new update from insider Frank Seravalli. It's not, too much of an update, I guess, because it is the middle of the summer, of course, but a pretty significant update in by way of what's going to happen with Artemi Panarin, because it has been a big question mark this summer. And he said, he was taking a bunch of questions on his most recent live, and he said, I'd have to think there's a way to work out a new deal for the bread man. So that's a direct quote from Frank Seravalli. And we know that it's a stacked free agent class next year. There's a lot of players that the Rangers can target. We've gone over a few of them already. There's so many more to touch on that could be better fits for the New York Rangers, of course. But Panarin was one of the best free agent signings at the time. He's put up a ton of points. He continues to put up a bunch of points. And if they were to re-sign him, I am confident that he would still be a point producer for this team. I don't think he's going to regress overnight or anything like that, of course. So he's still got a couple good years left of hockey left. And Frank Seravalli went on to say that a bit of a question would be what happens with Artemi Panarin moving forward, because there is still a question mark there. So Brett, I'll throw the exact same question over to you. What happens with Artemi Panarin? Would you re-sign him if you're the New York Rangers? This has been a huge question this offseason. Personally, I think that if, the free agent class starts to dry up quickly here as the months go on, you do look at re-signing him. But man, oh man, there are a lot of really good options next summer that are, quite frankly, maybe not better, but they're definitely younger.
My answer is yes. There is a but. There is a but when it comes to Artemi Panarin. So obviously, I would not extend him right now. After the season the Rangers just had, obviously we saw how things played out with Alexei Lafreniere. Once he got that payday, everything went downhill. There was a ton of drama last season. Artemi Panarin, I'm going to simply evaluate. I'm going to evaluate how the first half of the season goes. Once the Rangers get to the trade deadline, they can see where they're at in the standings. They can see if they believe they're actual contenders or not. Because if they have a season reminiscent to how they played last year, they may be of the mindset that it's time to cut ties with Panarin. He's had a lot of production since he joined the team in 2019. He's been an outstanding Ranger, one of the best free agent signings ever in New York. But, all good things come to an end. And if the Rangers find themselves in a similar position and there's a contender out there willing to give you, an arm and a leg for Panarin, you certainly do it. And the reason you do it is because of that free agent class next season. There are a lot of players, electric, outstanding players who have proven it on this list, no doubt studs.
Yep.
And if the Rangers could put themselves in a position to sign one or even two of these guys, because they will have over $30 million to play with once Panarin is off the books, you have to entertain that. But there are no guarantees. There's no guarantees that a Kaprizov won't re-sign in Minnesota. There's no guarantees that Eichel won't re-sign in Vegas, but there are a couple players. McDavid, things are quiet. July 1st is come and gone. No pen to paper.
Yep.
No rumblings. Same with Kempe. Same with Martin Necas. Kyle Connor. There are options, Darius. But right now, if you ask me today, I would re-sign Panarin, but I wouldn't sign him just yet. I would evaluate once the deadline comes. and then I would evaluate once the season is over. Not a chance I would extend him during the season.
No, and I don't think it's, at the start of the season, before the season, you don't extend them. And you have time right now, and they haven't extended him yet. So why would you sign him before the season starts, right? It makes no sense. And I do want to bring up his stats from last season because he played in almost all 82 games. He played in 80 games. He had 89 points. A significant step back from where he was just 2 seasons ago, of course, with 120 points. But, of course, the Rangers didn't have a great year. But I would evaluate where the team is at and, of course, his age, right? Because he is going to be 34 next season, over the course of next season. And, he is getting, of course, older. His point production is maybe slowing a little bit. Of course, it's still at an elite level. Let's not make, any mistakes about that. But you have to start thinking about the direction of the team. And if they are a team that isn't going to make the playoffs again next season, I think that you look at a contender and you go, how much would you give us for Panarin? We'd like a haul here. And then we're going to go out in free agency and try to sign one of these guys. So I think it really, really depends on, how they do the first half of the season. Do you look like you're headed to the playoffs? Do you look like you're not going to make the playoffs again like last year and it's going to be an absolute disaster? If it does look like you're going to make the playoffs, probably hold on to him. Maybe you re-sign him. And, we do have a contract projection here. And I do want to say this is from Scotia Stat Projections. And they have been bang on since July 1st, like almost bang on. If they have made any mistakes or whatever you want to call it, it's maybe a year off or a couple $100,000 off the contract extension. So what Panarin's ranked at right now would be a 4-year deal at just over $10 million. Of course, the salary cap is going up, and that would bring him, keep in mind, to 38 years old. So that is a little bit tough. I wouldn't mind a 3-year deal if that were to happen, but any final thoughts on Panarin possibly getting a contract extension? Would you be okay with a 4 times 10? I don't think I would be. I have to say that it's got to be shorter term and a little bit less money. But I think the answer here and what you do, the correct protocol is you go into the season, see how you're doing. If you look like you're not going to make the playoffs, pull the trigger at the trade deadline and hope that one of those guys stay available once free agency hits.
Here's the main thing. So when it comes to Panarin, you asked the question, am I okay with 4 years, 10 million AAV? The answer is no. The reason the answer is no is because there is a player on that free agent list next summer that could make the same AAV, probably will make the same AAV, and is quite frankly a younger version of Artemi Panarin. I'm not going to say who that player is. I will tease that for a future video, but there is a player on this list that is a younger version of Artemi Panarin who you can get at the same AAV, which is why it makes no sense to me. If Panarin wants to remain a Ranger that bad and has unfinished business, there has to be give and take. There has to be compromise. If you want to continue making double-digit salary on an AAV basis, you need to compromise. You need to come down a year. You're getting older. That's a fact. Instead of 4 years, work with us. Let's do 3 years. We still believe you could produce at an elite level. Since 2019, we cannot take this away from the Breadman. Obviously, he's led the Rangers every year in points. He trails only 4 players, Darius, in the entire league in total points over that span. Connor McDavid, who was just on that list, Leon Draisaitl, his Robin in Draisaitl, Nathan McKinnon, and Nikita Kucherov. That is an outstanding list to be on, no doubt about it. We can't change the fact that you're going to be 34 years old. We cannot change that fact. So my final take is I agree with you. Evaluate, see how things play out. You don't need to rush this decision. He still has a year under contract. Wait until the season is over and then evaluate. Evaluate with your entire staff. See where you are. And also you have to be forward thinking, Darius. You have to be forward thinking. So keep that in mind. But I agree with you. Don't do the extension right now.
Yeah, and it seems like they've kind of been forced into an impossible decision here because do you keep this guy who is aging but of course has these amazing accolades like you just said, or do you take a chance in free agency on one of these guys, right? But then that could all crumble at your feet in a moment's notice. We just saw that with the Florida Panthers. How many teams around the league wanted some of their players and they ended up re-signing right before the deadline on July 1st. So, or I believe the day before July 1st. So pretty interesting stuff, that's for sure. One last thing, and let us know in the comments how you feel about Artemi Panarin. Would you re-sign him? What contract would you give him? Because I feel like a lot of people would like to see him back, but it's got to make sense for the Rangers moving forward. And at the end of the day, he is an aging player. I still believe he can put up points for the next couple of years, but it's going to be very interesting. But let's talk about next season. One last final thing here. Some of the lines and projections have come out, and we've been talking about them at nauseum a little bit on the live stream, previous videos. A lot of the lines have gotten people fired up. And speaking of lines and, players development and all of these things and who works with who, because, we've been talking about a lot of that stuff at nauseum. Go check out some of the other videos for that. The Rangers have made some changes, and I don't know if this is going to be a significant change. I want your thoughts on this, Bret, but they've made 2 scouting department moves, and I don't know if the problem necessarily comes from the scouting department. I think it's a disconnect with the development program and, of course, the AHL program, because it's not great. It's not highly ranked at all. We talked about that in the stream as well. That's been an issue. Like, they're not ranked high in the league whatsoever. So you have players that are not making the team going down there and not developing into NHL players. That is a problem. But anyway, Chris Poirier has been brought in from, he's a former assistant GM with the Philadelphia Flyers and the Pittsburgh Penguins and director of scouting. He has joined the organization as an amateur scout. So I think that's pretty interesting. And Craig Channel, who's been a pro scout since 2023 with the organization, has left, leaving the Rangers with just 2 pro scouts, which is an issue. You still need guys to, analyze and see who you could trade for at either trade deadlines or throughout the season to make your team better. So you need at least one more guy, I think, in there. The Rangers could hire a couple more, but what do you make of some of these moves? Again, I don't think it's necessarily a problem with the amateur scouting staff. You're drafting good players. It's just the development of those players that I think is the problem. And some of it had to do with, coaching staff, development staff. There is a disconnect in this organization.
Here are my final thoughts. You hit it on the head. The Rangers have drafted good, talented players. Lafreniere, Capo Caco, who just got paid. What's cracking, right? He's got paid in Seattle. Obviously, Gabe Perreault, Othman, Berard. Rangers have done a nice job drafting. That's not the problem. Like we said on the live stream yesterday, you guys should go check that out. The developmental program that the Rangers have in Hartford, not good, bottom tier. Let's not forget the head coaches that the Rangers had have been win now. They haven't, given their young players real opportunity to gain consistency, also have played them out of position. So until the Rangers fix those 2 things, doesn't matter. They could bring in the best scout in the world. You need everybody to be pulling in the right direction. Quick note on Chris Pryor. Didn't do a great job in Pittsburgh. I know fans who have criticized him and are not happy about the job he did as the AGM. He won't be the AGM here. He'll have a lower level position, but in 2023, the Penguins didn't have much draft capital because they traded it all away for win now players, and it all blew up in their face. They all underachieved. Penguins missed the playoffs for the first time in 2 decades. Everybody got fired essentially except for Mike Sullivan, who's now our head coach. And look, he didn't draft like any prime players, but the one player that he did have his hand in the cookie jar when it came to drafting was Owen, how do you say his name? Something Picker.
Owen Pickering.
Yeah, Pickering. There it is, Pickering. Owen Pickering. He drafted as the AGM, and that pick blew up in their face. He has not materialized into anything, a former first-round pick. So that you could look back to and criticize. But, yeah, those are my final thoughts. Until the Rangers clean up their act in the AHL and their head coaches start actually trusting their young guys, nothing will change. And when it comes to the Breadman, he's been great. It doesn't mean you have to extend him right now. He's been great with the Rangers, led the team every year in points. Only problem is, never led the team in playoff points in any of those seasons.
Yep.
I know he had the OT winner in 22 and 24, but, we can't forget the fact that he's never, ever led the team in points in the playoffs. Just keep that in mind. I do want to re-sign him, just not right now.
Yeah, and I think that is something to keep in mind, of course, and that's something that has been a discussion point amongst fans for a long time at this point. But whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's a month from now, the Rangers have been forced into a decision here on what to do with Artemi Panarin and when are you going to fix your development program, because you have to do that, and that should have been done a long time ago. But the best time to do it is now, right? So they have to figure that out. So let us know how you feel about everything we covered in this video down there in the comments. And the conversation always continues, not only in the comments, but on X as well. So find us on X. The link is in the description, but let us know how you feel in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.